Hey, what's up, gang? Today I wanted to bring to you birds. There's a lot of ways to build birds right now, but I think birds is probably one of the best decks in the format. I think that is an unironic fact. And if you don't believe me, well, get ready for your socks to be blown or something like that. Anyways, here's the list that I've kind of been tinkering with a little bit. I took this from I believe it was Asian regionals that I really thought was interesting, and I kind of tinkered with it and added my own flair. But there's also ways you can build a deck with like level 4s and make it like a more traditional deck profile rather than like a full-on combo variant that relies on like your level 5s and Soras to make a huge splash. But moving on, let's go over the card by card. So Yokomon is the best egg in the deck. It adds back one of your basically in archetype Digimon. It adds back everything that you have here except for any of the Tamers and the Agunimon or Ancient Grey. Everything else though is able to be gotten from the trash. And that will proc your Soras and allow you to kind of go off into combos. If your opponent's at 3 security and they AncientGreymon Ruin moded you, as long as you have a rookie in the back, you can kind of promote your Yokomon on deletion will trigger, and then your Soras will be able to cheat out your level 5s pretty quickly, allowing you to kind of finagle around your opponent trying to lock you out of the game, which is really funny. Your rookies are there to die, so let them. And now we're playing 4 of the your main phase Biomon. This one pitches a archetypal card, so the bird, beast, avian, animal, or sovereign, other than sea animal, from your hand, and you roll top 4, and you can add 1 red card from your hand, from among them to your hand, and return the rest to the bottom of the deck, which I think is really, really good. This searches out your Ancient Greys and your Agunimons. And then this one over here, the BT11 Biomon, is an on-play effect. Reveal top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 red Digimon card with Vaccinian traits to your hand, and 1 red red Tamer card from among them to your hand as well. Place the rest on the bottom of your deck. So that searches everything except for the Agunimon because it is a variable. However, the Ancient Greymon is in fact a vaccine, so this will be able to add it. And both these have an inheritable that does something very similar. This one is on deletion gain of memory, and this one's whenever you check a security gain of memory. So that'll allow you to be able to play around a bit more with like the combo-esque strategy, which is why I'm playing 4 and 4. I think these are the best Biomons you have available to you. And then I play this kind of like just regular on deletion gain 1 memory Biomon. This guy's just here to die. And if I don't have another rookie to kind of use effectively, then I will be going into the Agunimon on top of him and just accepting that I won't have an inherit. But this is the one that, if you're not needing like any searching and stuff, will be the one that you play off of the Soras to give rush off the Akihos. That will then let you kind of cheat out, like get a little bit of extra memory while getting a check-in, which is quite nice. And now for the champions, we're playing 5. We're playing 4 Agunimons because he's so important to find. You maybe cut him down to 3 because obviously after you find the initial one, every other Agunimon is kind of worthless unless something horrible happens to your Ancient Greymon during the swing. But that aside, we're also playing one of the Saberdramon. It's a unique card in what it's able to do with the raid retaliation. The on deletion doesn't really matter too much. It does not come up like almost at all. However, the raid retaliation has had some niche applications for me. So just having a body as well that allows you to kind of bridge that gap is nice. I think it's fine. You could definitely cut it out. I've been noticing that sometimes I'm like 1 or 2 memories short of being able to make like an insane push for a lethal turn earlier than I think my opponent would be expecting. So you can definitely look into adding things like in this place like Gravity Crushes or more Akihos or more searches or more trainings or more Wings of Love. I'll just go over the Gravity Crushes really quick because the rest of those we'll kind of go over when we get to them. I think the Gravity Crushes are really nice. One of the main reasons, if those of you who've been following my channel for a little bit know that I tinkered for a while on a really strong and I think probably best deck in the format that I called Ancient Gabumon, which was a really unique list that made use of a confluence of really powerful cards. Like the Louis and the Mats that gain a memory whenever a Gabumon promotes and stuff. And one of the most powerful cards in that list actually ended up being Hammerspark. Because of the way that the deck gains so much memory, it was usually just lacking that 1 extra memory to start the loop going a turn earlier, so it would usually delay me. And with the hit to the Hammersparks, it actually slows down the deck a lot. Gravity Crush is a very similar card, and while the negatives of it are a lot more noticeable, I think it's definitely something I want to look into adding here as I can do a really strong combo, and yes, I'll give you a lot of memory, but I don't think I care too much about that. There's not too many like really aggressive combo decks in the format besides like Takamikazuchi that are going to kill you like in a single turn. Like Lord Knight will kill you over the course of like 2 turns. Purple Hybrid will try to either mill you or kill you the course of like a couple of turns. So giving them like that extra like 2 memory isn't super devastating if you're able to make better use of it than they can, which I think this deck is able to do. Moving on to the level 5s, we're playing 9 level 5s. We're going to go and start off with the Aces here. This card is insane. It really is, I think, one of the things that makes a deck tick. Just playing it out early to get an early Sora and a level 5 body is really good as a way to get some tempo. Being able to pop a blocker allows you to get through a lot of really niche scenarios and that your opponent feels safe behind, but you're able to kind of play out Garuda Ace using Sora. Play out Garuda Ace using Sora. Garuda Ace play out Sora. Pop something, go into Garuda X, add something back, Sora play out a second Garuda Ace, pop something, continue on that line. It's a very powerful way of kind of keeping your memory setters on field, allowing you to keep comboing for an extended period of time. Now, obviously, it being an ace is a little bit hurtful because of the fact that, you will overflow through memory, and so it makes it a little bit scary to swing in. However, by the time you're kind of doing that whole, like, flippy floppy combo with Soras and Garuda Aces, your opponent's probably going to die that turn, or they're going to be put so far behind tempo wise that on the crack back they're going to be dead no matter what. Then we're talking about the other Garudamon here. This one is kind of disappointing. It has a interesting on deletion. Just pop something with 6k or less DP, or 6k or less DP. Doesn't really matter too much. You're never really like, yay, I'm doing that. And then the on play when Digivolving, you're only ever really getting the on-play effect. You're very rarely getting the when Digivolving effect. You can play 1 red tamer card with a play cost of 3 or less from your hand without paying the cost. Not being able to spit out a Sora with it is super, super sad. The only card that you can really hit with it is Akiho. And while being able to spit out an Akiho is really nice, being able to go, Sora play out Garuda, Garuda play out Akiho, Akiho will then be able to give something rush if you go like Garuda X, second Sora play out something else, and then Akiho give that rush. Like, that's fantastic. Then you have 2 rushing bodies on field, and you can swing in with this stack and not feel too bad about it. But nonetheless, it's obviously a weaker version of the Aces. And then finally, one of the best cards, if not the best card in the entire deck, Garudamon X Antibody. This card is a house. Anything that's able to give your Digimon charge, or rush in this case, is absolutely disgusting. So, on play when Digivolving, you may return 1 red Digimon card from your trash to your hand, and then if Garudamon or X Antibodies in the sources, you can delete one of your opponent's Digimon with as much or less DP as this Digimon, and then your turn, when a red card returns from your trash to your hand, one of your Digimon gains rush for the turn. If your opponent's on 2 security, it's a really funny time, because you can just go Sora bounce to play out Garudamon X, add something back to hand, have a rushing body immediately, which threatens a lot, honestly. And Digivolving for 0 on top of the Garudamon Ace is also really nice. Being able to go Garudamon Ace, play back out the Sora that you just got, going into Garuda X, giving itself rush, Sora playing out another Garuda Ace, and then kind of continuing on. You just get a huge amount of hidden checks from hand. And now we kind of move on to the level 6s. We're going to start with the in-archetype level 6s first. We're playing 3 Phoenix and 2 Phoenix X's. These cards are really good in archetype and what they allow you to do. Starting off the Phoenix ones, on play, on deletion, delete one of your opponent's. If your opponent has 3 or fewer security, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest DP. And if they have 4 or more security, trash the top card of the security stack. This allows you to kind of start off the game with a aggressive Garudamon playing out a Sora or playing out a Biomon. Playing out a Sora, my bad, or one of the other Akihos, and then Digivolving for 3 on the next turn into the Phoenix. The Phoenix then lets you play out another Tamer here, or one of your Biomons, and then swinging in, and if it dies, you're going to do 2 checks, setting up that 3-check threshold to kind of get your combos going, which is super, super nice. Otherwise, it's when Digivolving as well, my bad, I forgot to mention the when Digivolving, which is how we get the Sora or other Tamer or the Biomon out when Digivolving. You can play 1 red Digimon card with 5k or less DP, or 1 red Tamer card from your hand without paying the cost. I really wish, because it's a Phoenix, it could kind of play from trash a little bit, but I understand that would be really good, and it's just kind of disappointing that it doesn't do that. Nonetheless, it's a very good card. And over here we got the Phoenixmon X Antibody. When Digivolving Blitz, it evos for 5, so you can evo on your level 5, or it evos for 2 or Phoenix. When Digivolving Blitz gives it a lot of really cool application. because it can be kind of like the capstone of what you want to end your turn on. And then it has the your turn. While Phoenixmon or X antibody is in this Digimon's Digivolution sources, attach end of attack to all of the Digimon's on deletion effects. That includes all of its inheritables as well. So if you Digivolve using Protoform for 4 memory on top of a Garuda X after giving it Rush, you Blitz into security, end of attack, you'll do a check, then you'll do another check, because you trash top card security at the end of attack. And then you'll also be able to play out one 11k DP or lower red Digimon card with the in-archetype traits among them from your hand without paying the cost. Obviously, again, I wish it could play from trash, but I understand why it can't. And then you delete one of your opponent's Digimon with as much or less DP as Digimon played by this effect. So a really funny thing that you can end up doing is Digivolve Phoenixmon for 3 on top of one of your Garuda X's that just got Rush. Keep turn, go to 0. Digivolve for 2 into Phoenixmon X antibody. Blitz into security. You survive. You play out a Phoenixmon from hand. You pop something, and you pop something using this effect as well. So the way that it would end up working is your opponent's at 5 security. Your Garurumon Ace Digivolves for 0, or yeah, Digivolves for 0 into Garuda X. Add something back from trash if you have anything there. Digivolve for 3. Digivolve for 2. You swing in. You activate the on deletion here using the end of attack of Phoenixmon X, doing the second check because the first check was done with the 13k body. Trash top card. Play out the Phoenix. The Phoenix will then pop something, as well as this effect will pop something with 11k or DP or less, which is really nice for kind of fighting for board tempo. And then if your opponent does end up deleting this guy, that's another guy from hand that you can play out that will delete something, as well as another card trash from top card of security, which is super good. I think any higher ratios of these, I think would be a mistake because of how searchable they are and because of how much you're able to add them back from trash consistently. You essentially have as many copies of these as you need once you find one. And then finally, onto the last 4, we're playing AncientGreymon. The whole point we're playing the Gunimon package. The AncientGreymon synergizes insanely well with the list and what we're trying to do. So the idea is you Digivolve in the back for 0, Digivolve in the back for 2 into a Gunimon, and then you kind of promote on the next turn. You ideally have an Analog Youth out. He's the only one that you really want out immediately. You swing at the Ancient Grey, you do your 2 checks, you pass over turn for 1 memory. End of turn effects trigger. This Biomon, which will delete this guy because of the Gunimon effect. This Biomon will gain you a memory. And then depending on the order that you want to activate these in, which ordering is a huge thing in this deck, because of the way that Digimon is first in, first out, you're able to kind of layer your Soras really interestingly. Like as an example, if you have a Sora on field, you'll be able to activate the Yokomon first, bounce the Sora to hand, activate the Ancient Greymon, play that Sora back out. Or, trigger the Ancient Greymon first to get the Sora out in the first place, and then trigger the Yokomon to bounce the Sora back to hand to get the effect going. And because it does 2 checks, it immediately unlocks all of our level 5s, aside from the Garuda X's, obviously, because Sora is a cool card. And then it adds back from trash as well, so if you have Soras on field, it will proc the Soras there. So it's a insanely powerful card that essentially does everything we want the deck to do. So there you go. And then finally, we're on one of Gallantmon Crimson mode. This card is just a way for us to essentially threaten our opponent. Even not having it in hand, just knowing that you have a copy of it will make your opponent a little bit less likely to swing into you. Well, you have a Phoenixmon or Phoenixmon X antibody on field, and the only decks that can really deal with that are things like Lord Knight, who are going to be wanting to prevent you from digivolving anyways, or any like blue deck that will be wanting to like kind of strip you and bounce you to hand. Any other deck though has to try and find some way to get rid of, like, say this Phoenixmon, for example. If they delete it and they have 3 or fewer security, we just pop something on their field immediately. So we're essentially going 1 for 1 there. We're going 2 for 1 there because they have to use a thing to remove our body, as well as we're getting a removal on them, which is fantastic. And if they don't and they swing in, we can obviously immediately go Crimson mode and then pop a total of 15k DP and then threaten trashing when attacking effects on the Crackback, which is insanely powerful as well. I think any more of it, though, is kind of troll. It's not searchable from most of your cards. Like your Akihos can't find it, and neither can your on-play Biomons. The start main phase ones, though, can find it, which is nice. And then moving on to the Tamers, we've got 4 Soras. This is one of the most important cards in the list. I think that it is the whole reason the deck functions. Obviously, without the Gruda X, like, your combo potential goes down, but without the Soras at all, your deck won't work. For those of you who don't know, Sora is a memory setter for a cost of 4, and then all turns, when a red Digimon card returns from your trash to the hand, by returning this tamer to your hand as well, you may play one 13k DP or less red Digimon card with the Avian or with the in archetypal traits among them from your hand, not my hand, it's your hand in this case, without paying the cost. And then for each of your opponent's security cards, remove 2k from this effect's playable card DP maximum. So at the start of the game, you can only play out 3k or less, but then for every security, you add 5k or add 2k to that. Which means at the first security check, you can play out anything with 5k, second check, you can play out things with 7k, third check, 9k, fourth check, 11, and then final check, 13. The threshold that we're looking for is 2 checks. Should you not be able to kind of like get like a Grudamon Ace out early and have it stick, or should you not be able to get like the Gunamon stack going? Even just going Biyomon in the back, Biyomon on play, promote, play out Sora, swing Biyomon, swing with the Biyomon with the egg underneath it, Biyomon with the egg underneath it triggers, bounce the Sora out of hand, activate the Grudamon is a totally viable strategy. The only threshold is 2. Once you hit that 2, you are off the races. You're able to do a lot of really cool stuff. You have to find at least a copy of Sora, minimum. Now we're playing 2 Akihos. On play, reveal top 4 to add a Digimon with vaccinated traits among them to your hand, and then place the rest of the bottom of your deck in any order. And then your turn when you play Red Digimon with your sources, with the traits as listed prior among them, you can give that Digimon Rush by spinning this Tamer. That effect sounds really crazy, but because of Grudamon X, it's actually not that important. Obviously, it allows you to cheat out Biyomons instead and get a lot of like easy checks in early on, which is something that you could definitely start looking to do. But it's not super mandatory to fight in your Akihos. You'll be getting Rush pretty consistently, even without finding your Akiho. They're mainly there just because they're a pretty good searcher for what you're looking for. It adds everything except for the Chaos Gallant and the Agunis. And Saberdramon is a vaccine. Okay. Anyways, yeah, it adds everything then except for the Agunis and the Crimson. And just having the ability to gain Rush is really nice. Plus, having something that your Grudamon here can play out is good, as well as having extra, Tamers to kind of get extra value out of is also really nice. We're playing 4 Analog because the ideal turn is your opponent puts you to 2 or 3 memory. You promote your Gunimon, promote your Biyomon Digivolve for 2, and then you swing in Digivolving for 2, putting your opponent to 2 or 1 memory, and then the end of turn effects will trigger. You'll gain a memory from your Biyomon Inherit, then you'll gain a memory from the on deletion of your level 6 because of the analog youth keeping turn. Hatching Egg allow you to do it on the next turn, which is insane tempo value. Once you trigger it the first time, you're essentially set up to win the game next turn, almost no matter what your opponent does. As well as it searches and puts cards in trash, which you need cards in trash to add back to activate a lot of your effects, like your Soras or your Grudamon X's. This is definitely a 4 of, and I would not play it any less. And then finally moving on to the option cards. This is where things kind of get a little weird. We're playing 3 offense trainings. I really want to play 4, but again, the deck list is a little tight. It's where I would probably cut the Saberdramon and play a 4th offense training. And then we're playing 2 of the X antibody protoforms. This allows us to go into the Gruda X for 2 on top of a Gunimon, which is something that can come up a couple times, as well as go on top of the Phoenixmon for 1 memory from a Phoenix, a regular Phoenixmon, or for 4 on top of a Gruda X. And this is really important for making it so that way your turn effect is on, making all of your deletions end of attack. Otherwise, there's not very little reason to go into a Phoenixmon X antibody. And then finally, 2 Wings of Love. This card is crazy. This card is insane. Let's say, for example, you didn't find an Analog Youth, but you got the AncientGreymon off that turn. You pass your opponent to 1 after doing 2 checks and get a Sora out. Next turn, you hatch, you Digivolve in the back for 0. You activate Wings of Love, adding something back while also playing out a Sora. Let's say you drew a Sora off that Evo and you didn't have one out. You can still activate the Wings of Love, play out the Sora, and then add something back, and the Sora will in fact see the fact that you add something off the Wings of Love, immediately triggering it, essentially saying, hey, This is a 2-cost, level 5, and memory setter tamer, all in one, once your opponent's at 3 memory, which is disgusting. It's insanely good. This card is, I think, what allows me to do some of the most insane combos in my testing, doing some crazy fucking plays. Even being able to go, like your opponent puts you into ruin mode, you promote out your rookie, you trigger your egg, bouncing it back, activating the Sora to play out a Garuda X. Garuda X plays out, adds back, say, a Garuda X from trash. You have no more Soras on field right now, but you do have 3 memory because your Sora puts you there. You swing in with the Garuda X. Then you activate the Wings of Love. If it died, great. If it didn't, that's fine too. We'll adjust. But assuming it died, activate the Wings of Love, play out the Sora. Sora is seen by the Wings of Love now, so we add back the Garuda X we just deleted. We go ahead and use the Sora effect to bounce back the hand the Garuda, the Sora to play out a Garuda Ace. We're underneath a ruin mode right now, but we're still able to kind of thrive. The Garuda Ace will trigger, playing out the Sora, Digivolve for 0 into a Garuda X effect. We'll go ahead and add something back, give this guy Rush, Sora will trigger, play out the other Garuda X, add something back from trash. And that is another 2 checks on field that we're also able to evo on top of, and they both have Rush. It is absolutely disgusting what that card can do. But enough show, or enough tell, let's start with the show. Hey, what's up, gang? Today we are going to go over the bird deck. I know I already talked about it just now, we're going to go ahead and speed it up a little bit. I couldn't really find a lot of super high impact meta decks, but I think it still kind of explains what you can expect when playing a deck like this. This game here, we had a really bad opener, like awful. We had, I don't think anything in the first hand, and then the second hand here, all we had was Akiho, and the search off the Akiho did not get us anything. It passed our opponent back to 1. Luckily, it is Examon, and they're not exactly known for being fast. Obviously, if it was a faster deck or they had a better hand, we could have been a lot more punished, which I think is the downside of playing so little rookies. And having your game plan kind of be somewhat reliant on them, depending on what your opener looks like. But now we found it, we are only like a turn or 2 behind, so it's not the worst thing in the world. My opponent is setting up pretty quickly, though. They now have a memory setter, so we won't be able to choke them. They'll probably be able to get the Xmon out next turn, and we don't have a great way to really force them to pass. So we'll just have an extra body, assuming they're going to make a swing in, and then we're going to Digivolve them back. Just so that way we have a good target to swing in with. We'll go to 3, hatch in the back. From here, they can just Evo and then play out a guy, I believe, or even just hard play out and then be able to DNA at end of turn. Either one works. They do get the Xmon out, and this is a pretty intimidating stack. It's got Evade, it's got Force Me to swing at start of the main phase because it has Slayer Dramon now, and they also got out the Ace Imperial Dramon, which is going to be letting them kind of spit out a bunch of Tamers over and over and over again, which is really good for them. So, this turn though, I'm able to swing a lot of memory my way. Yes, they'll be able to kind of delete my guy before I start swinging in with him, but I will be able to pop him using the AncientGreymon effect, getting a overall 2 memory to my cause, which is quite nice. With that extra bit of memory, we'll get another one off the deletion here from the block. Unfortunately, we can't swing in with that Biomon now, which is kind of sad. If we had some way to get a AncientGreymon back, we could have actually done a little like thingamajig, but that's okay. Also, not being able to hatch them back because we haven't found a analog youth is also very sad. So we're kind of searching a little bit, seeing what we can find. That's the Ancient Grey that would have allowed us to kind of do some stuff. We have no way to play out a guy by effect right now because we don't have a Sora. Even if we had the Sora right now, we could have gotten a Biomon out for free and then given it Rush with the Akiho and then Digivolve for 2, keeping turn, and then going from there. But unfortunately, that's not a play that's open to us. I think here I consign myself to just Digivolving for 2 and then Digivolving for 3, or for a reduced cost of 1, so for 2, and then going into the Phoenix. Phoenix is actually really good here because it my opponent ends up deleting it, which they don't typically have bouncing removal and stuff, we'll be able to trash the top 2 cards of their security, depending on what their Sora and Joe end up stripping from us. And we also have the ability to go into the ace, should that strike our fancy. They end up just setting up a little bit more, getting their first of 2 checks in, and then stripping the Protoform and the Biomon. A bit unfortunate that we won't gain a memory off this deletion, but that's okay. We elect not to blast, obviously. It's not going to be doing us any favors. And we do get out a Sora off of that, which is really good from the security. That gives us the ability to kind of do some more niche plays. We will be forced to swing, so obviously we'll do so. They're going to block, so it doesn't matter what our target is. We end up swinging into the body, just if we can, we'll just pop it. And then from here we'll trash 2 security, hitting an ice wall, which is really nice. And now we're kind of set up to do some really interesting plays. We just need to be able to kind of get like a body going. I'm feeling a little bit pressured, so I kind of want to pop both of his bodies here using the Gallant Crimson mode. Again, I'm not too scared of him killing me, so trying to make sure that doesn't happen is the best. For some reason, I end up not deleting that body. I'm very confused about it. Navigating the menu in the sim is a little difficult sometimes. So unfortunately, this guy does have an extra level 4 that he's able to make it to level 5 with an obscene amount of memory that he will also be able to delete the Crimson mode with just a swing. So he's essentially an extra 5 memory on top of this. So he's got a lot of maneuverability for himself here. He set himself up for 4 checks. I'm kind of afraid of him being able to get into an Examon and get that extra check in with the DNA evolution, but it seems like he's not able to actually find it. And elects not to swing into my Crimson mode, wanting to stay unsuspended for my Goonimon on the crackback. Instead goes into Heaven's Judgment and then Digivolves for 2 in the back, putting me to 1, and then I'll get set to 3 from my memory setters. And from here, I'm in a fantastic position. I'm pretty sure I can not only clear his board, but also kill him here. Yeah, both of his guys will unsuspend and be able to block through my Goonie, but that doesn't matter too much. We will get the AncientGreymon off. Nothing to pop. We're just doing this because we really want to get the add back. So we'll start with the Yokomon, and I believe we'll just add back one of our X-antibody Garudamons because they are some of the most important cards for this little combo pile that we're running here. Garudamon Ace will proc. We're going to elect not to use the Rush on this, I believe. We're just going to kind of cycle between. And since Garudamon Ace, we actually have has a secondary effect that says whenever all turns you play out a Red Tamer, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with Blocker. Even though they have Evade, we'll be able to kind of proc this multiple times throughout the turn because of how many Garudamon Aces we actually have in hand. So we'll kind of just be able to keep popping his guys. While we could delete the Exa or the Slayer or both, honestly, at the rate that we're going, it doesn't actually matter too much. The more important thing is actually just getting rid of the blocker, because our goal here is to kill him this turn. The analog lethal trigger, there's nothing really we care too much about adding, like the Slayermon or whatever, Slayermon, or what is the black Birdramon called? I don't remember. We will end up playing that from hand just because I think it's like the next best option besides just like hard dropping a Biomon and letting it go from there. It doesn't really matter too much. We will end up popping the Slayermon because it's the only other one that I'm a little afraid of, because they could go into Paladin mode Ace, and should we go Digivolve on top of any other Garudamon Aces here, him being able to blast Digivolve and strip some of our Aces, getting a bunch of memory, would be kind of devastating. So we're going to play around that a little bit. And then from here, we can kind of just start doing the old give everything I own rush from here on out. Both Akios have given one of the Garuda Aces and the Black Birdramon rush. God, I can't remember his name. And now both of the Garuda X's will start giving me rush as well. I elect not to get the other check off first, because now that they're at 2 security, we can kind of do a unique play where we go into Phoenix and then we use the Protoform to go into Phoenix X. Phoenix Digivolution, we'll just go ahead and play out the Sora, and now we'll go ahead and go into the Phoenix X, putting me to 0, and the reason for that is because we can just get lethal here if we don't hit a 13k body immediately, which we don't, so we'll just trash top card security. And now we can play something out. We elect to. It doesn't matter what we play out, but we do have another check in hand that would then let us get back a body, and if we ended up having another Garuda X in trash, we could play that out again immediately using the Sora and go from there, giving us another 3 checks, which is very funny. Here in game 3, it's still against like a bit more niche deck, but our hand shows, I think, something a bit more interesting. This is a pretty good hand, in my opinion. We have 2 searchers, even though we don't have rookies, meaning that we're more likely to find a rookie. And since we're going second, the 2 memory cost doesn't feel devastating. Our opponent, however, I believe does put us to 2, put us to 3. And this is where I believe I misplay. I think whenever you're going second, you should always start off between analog, youth, and training. You should always start off with training, because you may not have the ability to go for both bodies, the analog and the training, and you always want the training first because it's able to be used after a delay, whereas the analog youth is usable the moment you play it out. So that is the benefit. I am desperate because I really want to find a Goonimon. The Digimon Emperor is actually really hampering me. However, I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place where I want to play out the Sora, but I search less because of that, and I won't be able to go into a Goonimon on the next turn with the promote putting me to 1. However, I won't be able to promote at all if I don't play out the Sora, and they put me to 2, which is what they end up doing. So I'll have to skip on the breeding and just play out the Sora like it did, putting me another turn behind in tempo, which feels really bad. Obviously, the ideal would have been analog finding me the rookie, playing out the rookie, and then going into offense training and finding the Agunimon, and that would have kind of sealed the deal for my opponent. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. My opponent is able to set up a Raiji into a Braiwi Ludramon. So it's kind of immune, and we're not going to be able to deal with it too much. Nonetheless, we will promote, just kind of get that search going. If we can get the 12k body, we're going to go for the 12k body. We're not going to try playing around the Ragna Lord Ace. We end up not being able to find it, so we'll just take the Akiho for a search, and we're not going to end up swinging because there's no point. Obviously, we want to do some security checks, but our opponent does have the blocker, and we're not going to actually be able to make that dent that we want to. Trying to debate between doing the Akiho and doing the Bio. The Bio obviously is nice because it gives me an extra body on field, and it searches for the Agunimon that we're missing. But I end up going for the Akiho, just kind of setting it up. Earlier, it is quite nice, and even though it can't add the Agunimon, I figured I wouldn't I wouldn't pass over too many of them. I needed to take that risk, and so I am doing so. The Garurumon Ace is actually quite a nice add to hand because of being able to spit the Sora back out is really good. My opponent adds the Raiji back to hand. They're no longer immune, which is nice. So should I have something to deal with them, I will be able to on my next turn, unless they put that the Raiji Ludramon back in sources. Playing out another Digimon Emperor isn't too devastating at this point, just because we're not really a rookie rush deck, and we don't need our rookies to be rookies when they come out, like the ancient Gabumon list that I showed off a while back on this channel. Because you can just Digivolve into the Agunimon, it's a one attacking effect instead of one Digivolving effect. It feels a lot easier to use. Here we end up getting the Agunimon, which is really, really nice. And here we're forced to swing in, unfortunately, but that's okay. Because of the way our hand ends up working out, this is completely fine. The Yokomon will trigger. We'll add back one of our Biomon. We'll add back this one just because it's the best one to evolve in the back. And then we will use the Sora here. I thought about it for a second. I was like, do I really want to try committing here? And I think that the answer is yes. I was a little afraid of the Ragna X, the Ragna Ace. But I figured if they have it, it's fine with me. we end up taking the Garuda X, a bit more important target in my opinion, and then we will give it Rush with the Akiho, allowing us to Digivolve for 2 into the Agunimon. They will get their draws off the Digimon Emperor, which is completely fine at this point. And then we'll go ahead and use the offense training here. I'm not sure this was the right play or not. It gives me a little bit more memory to play around with, which is nice. But still, nonetheless, I'm not exactly certain. We go ahead and Digivolve for 2 when attacking, attempt to pop the guy. They do have the level 5 that will protect by trashing, so they will go ahead and trash their guy. We hit a 15k body immediately, which is kind of disappointing. We really wanted to hit that second check, so that way our level 5s are free from hand, but this is still workable. We'll gain 2 more memory from the Biomon Inherit and then the Analog Youth, and then we'll go ahead and play out the Sora that we take from trash, as well as the Agunimon that we take from trash. And from here, things are a little bit weird. We can commit a little bit harder, but I think I decide that because we couldn't get the second check off, I'm just going to Digivolve in the back for 2 and then hard play out the Garuda Ace, getting out an extra Sora and popping the Briaoui. And this, I think, will insulate me from most of my opponent will want to do. Yes, I have an Ace on field that's a little vulnerable. However, my opponent just lost their level 6, and they don't have a great stack in the back, leaving only their rookie. So with 3 memory, I don't believe they're going to be able to go into anything that's actually meaningful. And on the crackback, we're threatening 2 checks with the AncientGreymon in the back from 2 memory, putting me to 1, and then we have another check with the Garudamon Ace, and should we be able to get anything out, my opponent is looking at lethal on board. They like to just Digivolve in the back, thinking they have some time. Unfortunately for them, depending what these checks are, they do in fact not. So we'll go ahead and swing with the Agunimon promo, use the effect to Digivolve in hand for 2 into AncientGreymon. AncientGreymon with nothing to pop, just continues on for 2 checks at 12, the first check being 1k. We will gain a memory from the Biomon Inherit. Whenever a card is checked from security, gain a memory, and then we'll do the second check. Now from here, I'm just trying to find the correct line to lethal. It's a little less intuitive sometimes. So I start off with the Wings of Love, keeping turn, and we'll just go ahead, I believe, add back the Garuda X here. Yeah. And because our opponent's at 2 security, actually the play gets a little bit more unique in what you can do. So we'll go ahead and use the first Sora. I believe I play out the Ace, or do I start with the X first? Because the X's are 8k, you typically can't play them out at the 3 memory threshold that the AncientGreymon sets us at. But because they're at 2 memory, we can actually start hard playing the Garuda X's out. And the only thing you miss out on is the pop effect that you would typically get on Digivolving on top of a Garuda or Digimon with X antibody in its sources. You still get the rush and you still get the add back, which is very, very nice. I end up adding back this Sora, and I believe I play out the Ace here to get the Sora back out. So we'll do that. And then from here, we will go ahead, trigger both of the Garudas respectively. Obviously, we can swing in with the Garuda X here. And a very interesting thing that can happen is if this dies in battle, gets into the trash, we will then be able to add back the Garuda X using the Garuda X in hand. And then the Sora will let me play out that Garuda X again, doing the second check, essentially insulating me from anything besides some kind of security option, deleting one of my aces in battle and then swinging for game off the third, which is really nice. There are a couple other ways that I could have tried playing that. Like, instead of doing a Wings of Love play, I could have instead done something along the lines like a going into the Phoenixmon, and then AncientGreymon would have died. We would get a memory back from the Analog Youth, keeping turn, and then swinging in with the Phoenixmon and trying to get something going off there, which could have worked by and large. It's just a little bit more difficult to know the way to play around it, and we didn't have a great way to go into Phoenix X, which would have been the extra check that we were looking for, similar to how we had in the first game. But yeah, I think this deck is really cool. See you guys in the third game. What's up, gang? Welcome to the third game. Space up a little bit. Okay. Starting off, our hand I think is the best hand we've had so far. We have a Rookie, we have a Searcher, and we have a Sora. Now we're just kind of missing pieces. Obviously, the ideal hand is Analog Youth, a Rookie, a Agunimon, AncientGreymon. And while we're still missing the Agunimon piece, we're still pretty okay here. The Gerudo Ace is actually a really interesting early game piece because it is a 4-drop level 5 that also gets you out your Memory Setter Tamer or your Akiho, which is a search, which is fantastic. We end up not seeing anything, so we switch off the check. We end up hitting a Marcus Dame, which is really annoying. We are against a much more competitive deck, obviously against Shine. This deck is really scary in what it's able to actually do. Similar to what I said earlier, we start off with the Gerudo Ace play. I feel pretty safe in my opponent not being able to kill me or delete the ace without them having some kind of insane hand. They end up paying the memory for the Marcus, which is interesting to me. I feel like that wasn't necessary considering the fact they had the exact man that they needed to not play that memory out, but okay. We go ahead and proc our Sora on their turn. We'll just get a quick search going on. We end up hitting the Akiho. They end up swinging. And they will delete the Biomon, which is a little annoying. They end up hitting a Sora, which is nice. I'm not going to complain about it. There's something to delete on their board, though, unfortunately, with Blocker. And they actually didn't have anything to Digivolve into either. They end up hard playing the level 7 AncientGreymon Burst mode, which does get them out another Marcus, and then popping our Ace, putting us to 5, leaving us on effectively nothing, which is a little unfortunate, but I'm not too afraid. Their hand obviously seems pretty bad. They're missing like a level 5 and stuff, potentially. Or maybe they didn't want to commit their only level 5 in hand to the board yet, knowing they didn't have a good level 6 to go into. So instead, we kind of just set up in the back. We're pretty secure with everything that we have. We have an Akio, we have a Sora, we have an Analog Youth, and we have offense training with an AncientGreymon in hand and a Agunimon in the back. Our opponent is practically dead from this position unless they're able to set up some kind of immaculate defenses. These Analog Youths are honestly superfluous. I mean, the memory is nice, but they're not needed. I think our opponent is dead no matter what, and the Analog Youths are unnecessary but appreciated. They end up adding another Greymon, digivolving it in the back. My opponent is set up pretty well too. Obviously, they're threatening lethal on the crackback. I need to clear their board in some capacity. The Ancient Grey will proc. We'll go ahead and delete their guy, hit double checks into security, put my opponent down to 2, which is again that weird threshold where we can actually just hard play out our X's. The Yokomon will trigger. We'll go ahead, after the Ancient Grey, we'll go ahead and add back the guys. Just go through the whole line. Garudamon. Sora plays out Garudamon. Garudamon plays out Sora. We will give it Rush using the Akiho. And then the Yokomon will finally trigger. We'll go ahead and, activate the Sora because we've used the Yokomon. The Sora will let me play out a Gerudo X. Gerudo X will let me add back the Biomon. Gerudo X will give itself Rush. Sora will proc. Sora will let me go ahead and bounce to hand to play out the Gerudo X. Gerudo X will trigger. And then my opponent, understanding that they're dead on board now with those 2 extra checks, goes ahead and scoops. This game, I think, goes to show, like, even if you don't find the Agunimon immediately, you have, like, a turn or 2 of leeway against most, I think, somewhat competitive decks. Obviously, your opponent can kill you really quickly, like, say, for example, they're playing Takamikazuchi, and they see the nuts on turn 2. You being kind of set lower is unfortunate. Your opponent being Takamikazuchi, though, setting themselves a little bit lower with their security, though, whenever they attack, as long as you're not killing you on the crackback, will give you a bit more leeway with the Soramon stuff. But I'll see you guys in the deck profile end screen. Alright, welcome back, guys. Again, sorry I couldn't find some more meta decks. Obviously, the simulator is a little bit less, I think, competitive, but that's okay. I think, nonetheless, I showed off the capabilities of what the deck's able to do. I think this deck is insanely strong and definitely is a contender, in my mind, for one of the best decks in the format. Cards you can definitely think about adding, though. Gravity Crush is a wonderful option. Being able to get that extra memory out to do your combo plays is really impactful. You can also just play out a level 4 package. Not Birdia, it's Birdra. You can play out like a level 4 package. Getting these like powerful on deletion inherits is really nice. And being able to just kind of do some more unique things is also really good. Like getting this Birdramon out for the security attack +1, not necessarily on it, mind you, but on something else that you have, is really good. Getting this one out is really good as well, because it will proc your Soras for you for a cost of 2, similar to the Wings of Love. The only thing it requires is the body that you evolve on top of, and then, you know, it has a really good inherit as well. The inheritable of this one being able to cheat out a Sora from hand is also really nice. And just like nonetheless, like these Birdramons, while aren't super impactful, are still nonetheless like things you can consider. You can also start deep diving into all of these like traits that you have available to you. Unfortunately, it still feels a little barren from everything that I've seen, because they have to be red specifically and fall into line with these traits. But nonetheless, I think that this is something that we can definitely learn to break going forward. Other things you can start looking forward to are the Scramble cards come out soon. I don't think we have them in here yet. But the Scramble cards come out soon, which are super good for the deck. Being able to Evo for a cost of 2, using the Agumon, and then the next turn be able to decide what we get on top of the deck, I think is the most impactful part of it for our deck. Let's see, any other cards I think that really stand out? Oh, right, Valkyrie Ace. This card's insane. Being able to slot it into your list, I think, will allow you to be a lot more defensive and on a level 5 and not feel too scared about what your opponent's going to do, because you're going to have to out it first. And even if, you know, say it's in hand, if you have the memory to be able to go into, let's say you have like a training and you're able to cheat out like a Garuda X, play out the Garuda X, get an effect, give it rush, and then Digivolve for 2 into the Valkyrie Ace, swing into security. If your opponent has nothing to delete, that's completely fine, because that is an extra check you're doing with that body, which is only for the cost of the extra memory, which is super nice. You can obviously start looking into any other future like red-esque Digimon that start fitting into it. Unfortunately, the Valkyrie Ace doesn't meet the inheritables that we want. Being able to cheat out the Valkyrie Ace on your opponent's turn using the Sora would have been the most disgusting thing in the world, and I would have loved it. But, you know, Bandai hates me in particular, so that's okay. Nonetheless, thank you guys so much for watching the video, and I hope that you guys leave a like, subscribe, and test out the list yourself. You know, maybe make some changes to it. And if you do, by all means, let me know. I'm still tinkering with it to this day. Hugs and kisses. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.